All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really big question. What is truth? Is it just a collection of facts about how the world works, kind of like a roadmap? Or could it be something or someone personal? We're going to unpack a fascinating philosophical argument that suggests the answer to that question changes absolutely everything about what it means to know anything at all. So, right out of the gate, the source material hits us with this really provocative idea. It's saying that knowledge isn't some private thing you just collect and store in your head. No, to really know something that's true, well, that means you're in a relationship. And if that's the case, wow, that changes the whole game.
So, what on earth does it mean for truth to be personal? Let's break this down, because the whole argument really starts by drawing a very clear line in the sand.
Okay, check this out. On the left, you've got your standard impersonal truth. This is like a map. It just describes the world. Facts, figures, the boiling point of water. If you ignore the map and get lost, well, you made a mistake, but you didn't betray the map. But then, on the right, we have personal truth. This is completely different. It's not a map, it's more like a summons. It calls out to you, it makes a claim on you. And to turn away from that, that doesn't feel like a simple error. It feels like a rejection.
And this is the absolute crucial shift in thinking here. If truth is personal, then knowing isn't just about having data in your brain. It's about the relationship you're in. All of a sudden, you're not just a lonely observer with a collection of facts. You're standing in a shared space, and you're accountable to someone. Now, this idea of being accountable, it brings us to this tiny but incredibly powerful word we use all the time without even thinking about it, the word ought. You know, philosophers have a fancy word for this, normativity. But really, all it means is that feeling you get, that little voice in your head that says you should believe what's true. It's that subtle difference between saying that's a fact and feeling I ought to accept that fact. That little word ought, it's packed with a sense of obligation. So the argument is that this sense of obligation is so strong, so real, that when you ignore it, it's not like you just made a mistake in your calculations. No, the source material uses a much, much heavier word for it. It's a betrayal. And this, right here, this is the heart of the matter. It just raises this huge question, doesn't it? You can be wrong about a fact, sure, but can you really betray a fact? Betrayal, that's a personal word. It implies a broken trust, a broken relationship. It suggests that when we're dealing with truth, maybe there isn't just a what involved, but also a whom. So this whole idea of a personal betrayal isn't just some vague feeling. The argument actually lays it out as the beginning of a very clear, very logical chain reaction. It really is like watching a set of dominoes fall. It all starts with normativity, that little ought we just talked about. Well, that feeling implies the next domino, responsibility. But think about it, you can only be held responsible for something if you can be addressed, right? If someone can actually call you out. And for that to even be possible, there has to be a will on the other end doing the addressing. And this just highlights such a critical difference. Look, being inconsistent, that's a logic problem. It's impersonal. It's like having two puzzle pieces that just don't fit. But being irresponsible, that's a whole other ballpark. That's a personal problem. It's not about breaking a rule. It's about owing someone an answer because they made a claim on you.
The logic here is actually pretty simple, but it's also profound. For that ought to have any real teeth, for it to actually obligate you, it has to be aimed at you. A demand that isn't directed at anybody, well, it doesn't demand anything from anybody. It's just a feature of the landscape. It has no power over you. All right, so this brings us to the final showdown in this argument. It tackles the big question head-on. Can a simple, abstract principle be the source of this incredibly powerful personal feeling of responsibility? So let's just think for a second. Let's take an abstract principle, something like logic or the law of non-contradiction. What can it actually do? What are its powers? And hey, don't get me wrong, it can do a lot. A principle can describe the very structure of our reality, it can ground all of mathematics, and it can definitely show you when your beliefs are a total mess. It's the blueprint for logical thinking. But, and this is a huge but, there is one crucial personal thing a principle is completely powerless to do. So, what is that one thing? What is the fundamental limit of an impersonal, abstract structure? It can't address you personally. Simple as that. A principle is just there. It's an it.
It doesn't have a voice, it has no intentions, it can't look out at a crowd, point its finger, and say, hey, you, this applies to you, I'm waiting for your answer. I mean, even if we all agree that certain things are just fundamentally wrong, this argument pushes us to ask, wrong for whom? For that wrongness to become an actual obligation that you have to answer for, it has to be directed at you. Otherwise, an impersonal wrongness is just a fact about the world, like a mountain or a river. It's not a claim on your life. And so, here we are, at the end of this chain of reasoning. An impersonal system of rules is great for explaining logical consistency, but it just can't seem to explain our deep, personal sense of obligation to believe what's true. For that, it seems we need something, or rather, someone, personal. And this is the final, crucial link in the chain. That feeling of being answerable for our beliefs, our sense of responsibility. It doesn't lead us back to an abstract system. It leads us back to a will, a someone who is capable of saying you. And if you follow that all the way to its conclusion, you land on this powerful, almost dizzying change in perspective. Truth is no longer some passive object that we put under a microscope. Instead, truth becomes an active subject that sees us. Knowledge is transformed. It's not a lonely activity anymore. It's a shared space where you are seen, you are known, and you are not alone. So, we're left with this final, massive thought. If the ultimate ground of truth itself has to be personal in order to make sense of our own deepest instincts about knowledge, well, then the next question is pretty much unavoidable, isn't it? Has it spoken?